This is a message from your guides reading for the child. I have two crystals here today that I've pulled for your reading. I haven't really been using any group crystals for some reason today. So I have my citrine here. So this is a really powerful solar plexus stone. So your solar plexus charges all of your other chakras and it restores them. It helps to heal and balance them. So it's feeling kind of like there are some more solar plexus energies that are kind of needed right now or being called for right now. And also this feeling of, again, restorative energies that come from the solar plexus and the fact that it can heal other chakras as well and balance them and realign them. Okay, so then I have my Shattuckite here. And so this has to do with a lot of different third eye things and psychic abilities, but it also has to do with grounding and healing with earth energies. And I'm definitely feeling that coming up a lot as the primary thing with this. The grounding and the healing energies that come with it. And there's definitely, because it's specifically with earth energies, there's definitely some fairy energies here. You can definitely utilize that past life that you've had. You also have some angelic energies coming in. So angelic energies are around you as well. And this feels like healing, bringing a lot of healing. It definitely feels like you've been doing like some crying recently. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and surround this in some protective space here. I kind of feel like using both of these. Okay, I think I'm just going to use them both at once. Okay, so your guides are talking about perspective again, but um, they're talking more about seeing other people's perspectives. They're saying that it can be difficult to see somebody else's perspective sometimes when your own perspective towards yourself is still holding on to a lot of, they're using the word judgment. So sometimes we judge ourselves for past things that we've done. We see them as wrong, and And I feel like you still haven't been able to let go of some of those things. And not only things that you did or said, but, and this also goes back to past lifetimes. More specifically, though, when it comes to the past lifetimes, it's also having to do with ways that you were seen by other people. And it feels like that can be something that sticks with you. Like that you hold on to. But again, this has to do with energies that you have towards yourself. So when enough people, like in past lives or this lifetime, have come across a certain way to you. Now, I feel like in past lifetimes, though, there was a lot of abuse, like actual abuse. I'm not saying that there was none in this lifetime, but I don't feel like it was kind of as aggressive in some ways. Or like you could almost use a different word for it in this lifetime, or you could think of some of it differently, and not realize how abusive it is. But in past lifetimes, it was very obvious. There were some lifetimes you had where someone was abusing you in a very obvious way, and it feels like this continued through multiple lifetimes that you had. It wasn't all of your lifetimes, but you continued to carry these energies, and some of it really built up and stuck with you, and so it kind of changed your view of yourself a bit. I feel like that's even part of the reason that they call you the child, because a child has a very kind of clean slate and a very innocent, pure perspective of who they are and of other people, and they don't really judge themselves. So if other people convinced you enough in past lifetimes that the problem wasn't them, even though they were the abuser, the problem wasn't them, it was more you. It had to do with you, and it was more you than them. So, in other words, there were certain things that they didn't want to look at within themselves, and that they were holding on to, and they had strong energies that were there that they didn't want to look at. And so then that would come out in this way, like it's really you, it's not about them. That's the feeling that they would put towards you and get you to feel towards yourself. So when you're used in a lot of ways in past lifetimes and you hold on to it, because again, over time, your view began to change of yourself. It's like if enough people are saying this thing about you in a certain lifetime, you have to agree with it, is the feeling there. Obviously, you don't have to. But the point is that you did over time, because it's just very hard not to. If you're being told this specific thing for a very long amount of time and through different, authority figures, like, your husband or your parent, or it can even be like an older sibling, even a younger sibling as well. It depends on the relationship that's there and what's happening. They're saying then somebody who's being innocent can say something to you, or they're saying like an animal even could almost an animal could almost reject you in some way, like an animal shies away from you or is afraid of you, and this animal would do that to any human, but you feel like almost like you take it personally, like it's not the animal, or it's not just their way of viewing every human without exceptions or with rare exception, unless maybe they know the human or it has food, or maybe the human has some telepathic ability or something. Um, but this is just its normal, innocent behavior, and it's being itself and not really meaning anything by it. They're saying that if they're running away from you, that can be taken like it's something about you, or you approached them in the wrong way, when really it's about the animal. And the animal isn't meaning something by it. Could it work on its way of, communicating with humans? Yes. Could it work on its fear levels? Yes. And its ability to process communications coming to it? Yes, it could, but it doesn't really understand that. Um, it's an animal, it doesn't really understand how it might be coming across. But you can take that animal personally who doesn't really necessarily mean harm to you. And it's because of so much other stuff that has accumulated over time. And it just kind of pounds you. Like it becomes this just kind of festering buildup of energy. Because there's just so much there. There's like so much pain there and so much turmoil, so many heavy energies to traverse through. And they're saying that the reason that it's there is just because, well, they're saying karma, okay? So what karma really means is karma is, it's not like consequences and things like that. A lot of times people think of it as a consequence. Oh, you did this bad thing, and now, the karmic law buster says that this new negative thing has to happen to you. It really isn't that way. It's, you can build up positive energy in a certain area, and coming into your next lifetime, you have this positive energy built up in that area. But maybe then in another area, you've been harboring some really negative things, that almost didn't get the treatment or the healing that they needed in a past lifetime, or they weren't observed. And so for that reason, they're carried with you into another lifetime, where then you can look at it and you can treat it in that lifetime and you can heal it. So it's really having to do with healing. You don't just get like a new clean slate. In a way you do with each lifetime. And obviously they want you to see that aspect of it, which again is the reason that they gave you the code name that they did. But on the other hand, you still carry these other energies with you until you release them and allow them to heal and to integrate in the way that they need to. Water bottle number 2. But that's actually number 3. Okay. I don't know why I drink so much water during readings. So they're saying that there needs to be this like deep healing in terms of that they are mentioning your self-esteem, but they're also saying like your sense of self-worth, and it's more just in general the way that you view yourself. And that really needs healing. And they're saying that until that really happens, you can view people in a way that they aren't intending um, to come across. But they're saying that that's on their end as well. But sometimes when people have mutual issues, it can be difficult for them to see one another in a clear way. It doesn't mean that they have something really against one another at all. They can even be very close. Even soul wise, they can be very close. They can be part of the same group or part of the same kind of soul energy or soul family, but they can misinterpret one another when there are other energies there. It doesn't matter who they are to one another. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. It doesn't matter how they actually see one another soul-wise or even consciously. They might have a really positive opinion of one another, but then they just uh, miscommunicate or misperceive one another, or they don't understand one another clearly. And this has to do with their own self-worth and their own like self-judgment and self-value. So they're saying that that's what really needs to happen here and to be reflected on is how you view yourself and how you treat yourself and how you think of yourself and what you deserve. And if that heals, then it feels like over time they're saying any dysfunctions, any dysfunction, even with relationships that you need to keep or that help you or benefit you, that won't be there. And then they're also referring to relationships that don't need to be there and that only cause dysfunction, but sometimes they're not perceived in that way. So that's how they were talking about before, this almost kind of naive energy where you're not always seeing things, but that's really only because of a matching energy that's there, where you're just pulling the same kind of pattern in um, that has to do with your sense of self. And you feel like that you match what someone like an abusive person wants to put out and wants to put towards you. But they're saying that sometimes understanding is the key and reflecting is really the answer, and observing something in the way it is, and maybe somebody didn't um, mean to come across in the way that they did, because it feels like sometimes someone else's own stuff and your own stuff can kind of influence a conversation. And not only that, but it can also influence a person's view of a conversation and how a conversation is going. It can also influence things like emotional charges or emotional attachments to different ideas and concepts. Okay, so I feel like they kind of want to kind of switch topics. Okay, so now I randomly have a monkey totem coming in, and I have no idea what that means. So this is one I'm gonna have to look up. Okay, so use your ingenuity. This situation calls for adaptability and innovation. Evaluate and choose a course of action. Okay, so this is basically talking about how he is playful. He is very playful. He's playful. He doesn't take things personally. Okay, let me just read some of this. Okay, so perhaps you've forgotten the playfulness and in that playfulness and entertainment are good for the soul. These animals have a strong capacity for compassion, understanding, and bonding. They are all part of our human social makeup as well, and they serve to remind us that our journey on this planet is not a solitary one. When it comes to solving problems, this creature knows how to use their own ingenuity and resourcefulness to solve problems. So that's basically what this is saying here. He's very group oriented. He's very playful. He has fun. He loves his life. And also how social he is and his interactions with a group and not taking things personally. Okay, I feel like you've also had lifetimes where you achieved a lot. So you've had the flip side as well. For some reason you've held on to some of these energies a little bit more intensely at times. The more like abusive energies, but these other energies are there as well that you also built up. So they're saying that sometimes you just need to look at them more, focus on them more, give more attention to those energies. I feel like there's this kind of mixture of energy that they're bringing up where you can be like kind of a social butterfly. You can be like very outgoing and speak to people easily. And then on the other hand, you can be more quiet. It's like there are both kind of sides there or energies there. And they're saying that there's also a good balance there. So they're saying on the one hand, you're very friendly with people and you do see people clearly and accurately, and you do choose not to judge others and even yourself. And you have a good relationship with yourself. You also have the ability to be alone, to be by yourself, to make time for yourself. And you have the ability to set rules or boundaries with yourself and have goals. But it feels like for the monkey, part of what helps him feel grounded, even when he's off on his own, is his group. And when he starts finding his group, even if there are some differences or things come up, still there's there's a lot of positivity that actually takes place and forms. And mostly it's a lot of positive things that come from it. So it's just a matter of acknowledging those things. But it feels like it really starts with acknowledging those things in yourself and constantly seeing the positive within yourself and what you can put out. And the positivity that you have and that you offer to the world, and that you offer to the people around you, and that you offer to yourself. And they're saying that you're being yourself. That's who you're experiencing. That's always who you're going to be experiencing. And so that is the most important relationship to keep healthy and to keep solid and intact, to have this firm foundation of who you are and knowing who you are and feeling positively and good about yourself. And that will really heal everything else because they're saying that everything stems from that. They're saying it's like a tree. And if the branches were to represent other people or relationships, or even like places that you go or things that you do, or career or whatever it is. Those are like side things. Those are reflections of you. They're offshoots of yourself. And the main thing, the most important relationship that you can have is the tree itself, not the branches, because the branches wouldn't be there. The branches wouldn't be perceived by the tree at all. The branches wouldn't grow out of the tree if the tree weren't there, and if the tree weren't firmly rooted into the ground where it's getting all of its nutrients from. But in this case, you can almost think of the ground as a deep part of yourself, or a higher self, you can even say. But it makes more sense to say like a deep part of yourself. We're talking about roots and the ground. So that's more the way that they're saying it. But higher self, or a higher aspect, people can refer to it in that way. So same type of concept, in other words. This is just the analogy that they're using. And they're showing me the monkey even swinging on the trees. And to even be there at all, he has to have this habitat and this ecosystem. And everything in the ecosystem is supported by the trees. So the tree represents you, and you have to give yourself water. You have to give yourself time in the sun. You also have to have, time at night where you're cooling off, where the bright sun isn't shining on you. So you have to have time for yourself and inner reflection as well. But again, they're just saying that this is the thing that everything comes out of. This is the thing that all of your reflections come from. And so they're saying that you have to always think about what is being reflected to you. And how do you approve of yourself or disapprove of yourself? And how do you think about yourself or see yourself or value yourself, and what is your relationship with yourself, and getting in touch with that and healing the deeper layers of that. And they're saying that that makes everything else flow smoothly. And then they're saying that it's impossible to take certain things personally because they weren't meant in a personal way. So in other words, you see them from the aspect of you that's completely in alignment with itself and who it is, and sees itself clearly. It knows who it is. It thinks properly about its own self. It takes proper care of itself. It really values and respects itself. Now, it also sees clearly this person is abusing me, but they're saying that it can tell the difference very easily. And it knows intuitively when someone is meaning to harm you or when someone isn't. So they're saying that there's this balance there. And there's always a clarity there. So they're saying it doesn't mean you invite everybody in, but it does mean that you keep certain people in who are actually good for you, and who do mean well, and who do actually care about you. and respect you as well, but maybe they don't always know how to communicate in the best way. They're saying that you've had a lot of lifetimes where you stood on your own feet, where you were financially secure. Now, they're also saying whatever that meant in whatever time period, maybe maybe you were in a tribe or something and you didn't use money. Um, Maybe you had other ways of nurturing yourself or sustaining yourself and bringing something to your tribe other than money. But they're saying that you experienced many lifetimes where you were very grounded in that way as well. You supported yourself. They keep showing me this person who looks like some kind of warrior. But this, and he does feel kind of tribal, or like this feels like a really long time ago. And it feels like you're more trading, it feels like. Although I feel like there is currency, and I feel like you do use that sometimes, but I feel like you're more trading. And there's a feeling of you being more like a hunter. You're you're hunting and you're selling. Um, it looks like skins and different things that are coming from the animal, or different things that you can make. But then I feel like you're male, but then I also feel like you have a wife and she's actually helping you do things as well. So you're hunting and you're making some things, but then I also feel like she's also making some things. And then I actually see you cooking though as well. So you're kind of like you feel both on equal terms with one another. And it feels like you're taking an equal role with a lot of different things. So if she were to almost be like your business partner or something, even though it's a long time ago, that's more how it feels. And it feels more like you're kind of more on equal standing with one another. They're saying that part of this is because you had a lot of lifetimes as a female. And so there were a lot of programmings that you didn't give into from back then, about how a lot of guys were typically kind of seeing women or a wife just as more like these are certain things that she does, she cooks and does this and that. So you were taking some of this like feminine, not just energy, but even like feminine almost ability to do different feminine tasks, and you were bringing it into this lifetime. And so you were kind of in both worlds where you were doing different things. But then at the same time, you were solely the one who was going out and hunting. And there were obviously some things that she would solely do as well. But still, you were like very, very balanced. It feels like you communicated really well. And it feels like you were very firmly supported. Like you never had to worry about anything. You never had to worry about what to sell, or having enough food, or having enough money, or whatever it is that you would need, or clothes, even wood. I keep seeing wood, and I was seeing these furs, like you live in a really cold place. So it feels like you're like a type of merchant, but at the same time, you're kind of off a little bit in the woods somewhere where you're hunting and things like this, but at the same time, you're still part of like a community, like a village or a community or something, and you're trading with people. And I don't feel like you're that far away from people. So they all kind of live a little bit far out there. There's like a lot of land around you, a lot of forest and animals and different things. I keep feeling this energy like gathering too. Like maybe you have like a farm or something, but I feel like it's more your wife who's doing that. And I feel like you have kids who are actually helping you with that as well. So you're very grounded, you're very sure-footed. It feels like you're very wise as well. You're very wise, you're very stable, you're very happy. You have this balance of being independent and being dependent at the same time. You also have things that you enjoy. You have like pastimes. They're showing me some kind of like almost like you're smoking from, I don't know if it's like a wooden pipe, or I don't know, you're smoking from something. But this feels like something that you enjoy doing. Like you're sitting outside and you're smoking and you're reflecting and you're also talking to other people, and this was almost like a pastime or something. And you have different like social activities that you do. I also feel like what you're doing though, as far as like your career and how you're trading with other people and stuff, I actually feel like you enjoy that as well. So even though it's hunting, and most people are kind of against hunting now, for good reason, because how is it even really necessary anymore? Um, but back then, this was your livelihood, and you were enjoying this as well. You enjoyed what you did. You also felt like you had a purpose. You felt like you had a structure, but also a purpose. Like you were doing something that had meaning to you. You were you were someone where in the community you have something that you're trading all the time. So people, not even just your immediate family, but people in the community were relying on you for some type of service. And this also gave you like a sense of community and a sense of purpose. There was some need that you were fulfilling. And your life was simple, but at the same time, yeah, I just feel this person like inwardly is very wise, and they keep showing me like his eyes, and he feels very wise. Like he has a lot of knowledge under his belt where he can do a whole lot of different things. So he could teach someone how to do a lot of different things in an easy way. So he would be a very good instructor. He would be patient, but at the same time firm as well and not too patient. And he would be able to instruct the person properly, make sure that they did things correctly and that they learned it very well. But then at the same time, he also has wisdom as well. There's this sense of clarity. He can see people very clearly. Um, there's some other energy coming in with this. This is almost like even an extraterrestrial thing where he's picking up on his extraterrestrial lifetimes, which obviously you've had as well. So he's connected to that as well, and he's connected to his guides, but he definitely has this strong sense of people and humans and what they need. He knows how to speak clearly. He knows how to get things across. And he's not like overly logical or overly emotional. He's a very balanced person. He doesn't really get too angry. He gets things done. He's like a very efficient person. He's not lazy. But he also knows what to do. And he doesn't feel like he has to do some grandiose thing either. He likes what he's doing. He fulfills a purpose, so he knows what he needs to do, and he doesn't have to have some like grandiose desire beyond that. He knows almost like what he's meant for in that lifetime. He knows the role that he's playing. He knows how it's feeding him and sustaining him in different ways. And what he's gaining from it, he definitely feels like he's equally gaining and putting out. So he's helping other people gain as well. And so again, he has this sense like he's fulfilling kind of his, they're saying destiny, but like in this way of like role. He's fulfilling his role and he knows who he is and he knows what that role is. And it feels like his wife does too. They're definitely on equal par in that way, and they also complete one another in that way. They help to bring structure to one another. And just even because of the way that he views his wife, other people definitely feel like they can go to his wife as well. And she definitely has some standing like in the group also, like the community or group aspect. And when it comes to the business that they're running in a sense, more like trading, but it's obviously their business. That's the way they're sustaining themselves, even if they wouldn't have called it that exact word, obviously, back then. So they're definitely, in other words, like equal partners. And she's talking to a lot of people as well. She's talking to people just as much as him. And if he's off hunting or he's doing something else and he isn't there, then she's like taking care of all these things, or like people that are needing something. She's interacting with everybody, and she's kind of doing everything that needs to be done with a lot of different things if he's away. And there are certain things that people are coming to her specifically for as well. And the reason that they're bringing that up is also because you're allowing that. So you know what your role is and you're a leader, but you're also allowing other people to have roles of leadership as well. And that doesn't in any way compromise or conflict like with how you feel about yourself or your own role. You don't feel in any way threatened by that. In fact, you like that. You encourage that. You want people to be their best. So there are a lot of good things about this lifetime, and they're saying that you've also had other lifetimes like this as well. They're saying that you've had several others where you were doing something more simple in that kind of way, but they didn't really feel simple to you because you were fulfilling your role and you were being fulfilled in every way by what you were putting out and also by what you were getting back. You have had some lives where you did something that was on a little bit more of a bigger scale, especially one of your Pleiadian lifetimes, I feel like. So this is now one that they're mentioning is this one, the philosopher lifetime that they've talked about before, kind of healer, philosopher kind of lifetime. So you've had several lifetimes like that, and then you've also had some other mainly positive lifetimes, even the fairy lifetime as well. This was definitely an almost entirely positive lifetime, they're saying to you, where it felt very positive to you. You didn't really have any major, um, like major stuff come up. But you did get a lot of good things from the lifetime. You gained a lot of like psychic ability from that lifetime, healing ability, even clarity from that lifetime. Your ability to see things clearly was definitely very enhanced by that lifetime. So they're saying that it's just a matter of what you give the most energy to. And you need to focus on mostly the good things. Now they know that they have mentioned, um, you know, previous lifetimes that were really bad or really negative, and so some things needed to be brought to the surface so that you could know about them consciously, and then, like they were saying before, you'd be able to treat them or you'd be able to heal them if you were to gain insight on those specific lifetimes and the issues and feelings that they've stirred up. And they're saying that there's a lot more positive to come along with this current lifetime that you're in. And you can definitely pull as well from all these lifetimes that were so positive that they're mentioning. And then also this one specific one that they've spent a good chunk of the reading discussing. They're saying that that's because there's a lot of really positive energies there that you can pull from that can help sustain you in this one and that you bring with you into this one. So even though there have been things that they had to mention that were more, what we could perceive as negative, um, they had to mention those things to help you nourish yourself and fulfill yourself and kind of complete some of those cycles. So you have to observe some of those things. But they're saying that now it's time to really shift and focus predominantly and predominantly on more the healing aspect and more the closure of those things. So now we're coming more into some more details about positive lifetimes, and we're looking at things in a positive way. And they're saying that you know, they were already working on that before with you, but they are saying that there were things that had to be released and looked at. There are still some things you're saying that might have to be looked at for sure, and that can come out in different ways. So they're saying that things are still being integrated, and but there's a lot of major like healing energies coming to you now that are available to you. So they're saying that you need to reflect and think about the next course of action for you to take, and how you can heal better, and how you can approach the situation that you're in, and different situations that you're currently in, how you can view them better, or how you can view them in a different way. And some things, maybe they aren't the way that they seem. Like on the surface, maybe it's a more of a thing of how you're perceiving something in a wrong way, or in other words, not in the way that it's intended. But again, they're saying that there's a lot of healing available to you right now, and they're really coming in with that very strongly. And so they're helping you to heal and to reflect, but also to reflect on the good things about yourself and the good nature that you have, and that you care for others, you care about other people, you want to sustain them in a positive way, you want to lift them up. So there are a lot of really good things that you can think about yourself and towards yourself that your guides definitely see. In fact, they're saying that they see everything as good. But they're saying that they still have to mention things that need to be brought to the surface, or they need to be cleared in some way. Okay, let me see. I got a minute left. Okay, so that's all that they're saying. So I'm going to go ahead and take the last minute here and do a little bit of clearing. And I'm using my citrine. I have my shadowkite here too, but I'm mostly using my citrine. So again, kind of, they're just trying to add to some of these restorative energies that need to come from the solar plexus right now. Your solar plexus has so much to do with the way that you view yourself. So they're trying to energize and strengthen this chakra right now, clear it as well. But they're also trying to harness the energies that are there. So they're kind of trying to stir it up and charge it and heal it so that it can heal and restore these other chakras. Okay, so that is all that your guides have to say for this reading. And thank you so much for allowing me to do another one for you. And I will see you soon in the next one. Namaste.